Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers, the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. If you're new to the show, we've got two different types of show. First one's your typical interview style. We try to learn more about our guests, the industry they're in, and pick their brain a little bit about their journey to get there. So second show that we do is the one that we have tonight. We're following three guys that are building their companies. So I'm building a residential general contracting business here in Arizona. We've got Connor Teich, who's doing all things real estate here in Arizona, and then Alex von Reich, who's doing a lot of stuff on the data analytics side. So before we jump into the business stuff, we've got some company thoughts that we're going to do at the end. We're going to do a little recap from the last month. So boys, what have you been up to?
Oh, just setting fires, the fireworks, mostly.
Better throw the fireworks.
Oh, you're supposed to throw them? I thought you had to hold them the whole time. Dang, I knew I was doing something wrong. I was wondering why the 4th of July was so painful.
At 4th of July, we went up. Family goes up to Sholo every year, and my siblings, a bunch of kids, we hung out in 20-degree cooler weather and went to the pool, hiked, golfed one day. Just a lot of fun family time, and there's a lot of kids, so kids are running around everywhere, which is a blast. So
Nice.
Can't complain.
Nice.
Sweet. Yeah, I also sat in a pool because it was hot as balls, and my pool is essentially bath water when it's this hot out. For the 4th, hung out with a ton of friends. It was a great time. You guys are now looking at a YouTube celebrity, so try to hold the applause.
We're also looking at someone who didn't us, his other friends.
You weren't in the state. I don't want to hear it.
Oh, actually, I was.
No, you weren't. You said you were in Michigan.
Yeah, I said that wrong. That was the week before.
I thought you were out of state.
You can ask me after you're done what I did for the 4th.
No, we're gonna get straight into the business. We don't want to hear what Thaddeus wants to do. I broke my 3D printer, so I was trying to adjust
on
the
purpose.
nozzle. Yeah, well, not on purpose. No, I was trying to. I had a plastic clog, and I was trying to undo it, and I accidentally tightened it like an idiot, and it snapped off completely. So I'm waiting for some new parts. Luckily, it's not too expensive to replace, but still painful nonetheless.
We're kind of in the same boat, Alex. My Nespresso machine broke. So
that's like the same thing.
We're waiting on parts here.
All right, Thaddeus, what did you do last month?
Last month we went to Michigan. So the wife's family has a lake house out there. Spent some time on the lakes. That was a lot of fun. Just time to relax. And then it was also, I'll talk about it later, but kind of got some downtime to write down what we're trying to do with Cyto, start to finish. So that was kind of nice. And then if you had to guess what I was doing on the 4th, what would you guess that I was doing?
Working. There's no other option. It's working or working.
Yep. Well, here's why. Tuesday, I get a phone call. And it goes something like this. Hey, how busy are you? This is the first time that I'm turning down work. Like right now we're scheduling for September. Like things are going gangbusters. It's great, but that's what's going on. He's like, I gotcha. What if there was a very, very, very high net worth individual that is looking to build a house, and we need some stuff built to get our stuff going, and there's a blank check involved? So I kind of stare at the phone for a minute, just like, oh my gosh, because we all kind of know where that's going.
Yeah.
So I ask what the job is. He explains it to me. We need to build these frames for these mock-ups that they're doing. And then got a couple guys together, and then between the 4th and the 5th, we knocked it out. And here's how I pitched it to the guys that I was working with. I was like, hey, we've got this thing. Really, the only that I can do it are the 4th and 5th. The plan is to work 16-hour days and do our best to get it done. So we showed up on the 4th. There's 3 of us. We started at 6 a.m. By 4 p.m., had to send one of the guys home because he was dealing with heat exhaustion. So then me and Ethan, who's been working with me, we kept going until we got 5 of them done, and we left a little before 7. So we were halfway through the amount that we needed. So I was like, all right, that's good. That's all we're getting. We didn't clean up anything. Just like, all right, we know we're going to have 4 guys on the 5th. So then we had 4 guys the next day, rolled through it, and then got a very beautiful check afterwards. And one of the sayings that I have for Saito is, when I win, we win. When we win, our community wins. It was one of those things where when I called all the guys, I was like, hey, it's like, here's how much I'll pay you. And to not give everything away, everyone got paid extremely, extremely well. So, and the thing that I, just on that quote real quick, the thing that I tell people is not that when I win, we win. That's not about Thaddeus winning. It's for everybody. So it's, if I have, like right now, Ethan's working with me. It's, so Ethan, it should be when Ethan wins, we win. And then when we win, our community wins. And then it's when Esther, who's been working with me, when Esther wins, we win. When we win, our community wins. So, but that's just the saying that we've had. So for me, I take it very seriously, and hopefully the guys felt it, that it was like, hey, if we're winning. So
That's really cool though. I feel like that's 100% the right way to go about it. And then those guys are going to be way more likely to help you out when you're in pinches in the future, because that's going to happen another time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know that they know that you know that everyone's going to be taken care of.
absolutely. So
did you got the project done?
Oh yeah.
5th. Cleaned up, finished.
What time were you done on the 5th?
Before 3. So
Nice.
Heck yeah.
It was not a 16-hour day, so that was kind of nice.
Nice.
So yeah, it worked out. And then we've got a reel of it up on Instagram with the stuff we built. So if anyone wants to check it out, but yeah, it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Sweet, man. Well, good turnaround. See, I couldn't have invited you anyways. You were too busy. You're too cool.
Still feel like
Invite would have been nice.
yeah. We know who his friends are.
Oh yeah.
Or I mean, we know who his friends aren't.
Hey, you have an invite to the thing where I put all my invites. So just because you don't check it, that's not my fault.
That's true. All right, we ready to get into the real stuff?
Let's do it.
Well, before we do that, we need to talk about our sponsor for the podcast, good old Shamrock Farms. And boys, we're recording this on a Wednesday. I've had this since Monday, and I had to pop the seal on it because it's hard to just stare at Shamrock Farms in the fridge, but I saved a little bit for the podcast. Anyways, the only drink that screams summertime more than lemonade is Shamrock Farms chocolate milk. If you're at Alex's house, which he won't invite you because he doesn't invite you unless you're on the VIP list, or Connor's house for a barbecue, which maybe he'll invite you, grab yourself a nice cool glass of Shamrock Farms chocolate milk. It's the drink of friendship, summer, and anytime refreshment.
Anytime refreshment. That is a new one. I have not heard chocolate milk defined as anytime refreshment.
Well, it's just understood.
Knowledge.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Guys, let's get into the boring part of the podcast where we talk about the numbers in our industry. And typically I tell you 2x4s are this much and no one cares because it's the same price for the last 6 months. But 2x4s dropped by almost $1 when I checked it today.
Thanks.
So when you're having stuff drop by 25%, kind of taking notice. Plywood, our 2x4s are at $298. Usually they've been at $385. Plywood's at 1878. That's still kind of bouncing around the same range. Copper's at 33.28. That one is still on a bit of a climb. But for any of the people that are still talking about tariffs, and in all seriousness, I had a prospective client that was asking, hey, what about lead times or pricing with the tariffs? And like that hasn't been a thing recently. We haven't been getting hit by it. So as far as the 2x4s and the lumber goes, like that's just another example of not an issue right now. So to kind of see that 2x4s are dropping, it's great for me because I'm doing framing this week. But recapping the numbers, we took in $53,000 gross last month. We're still getting everything shaken out with our net numbers, and we should have a pretty big announcement for that in the next couple months. So things are in the right direction. I've got a lot of money out right now, but I've got a lot of money due as well. So little teaser. Anyways, action steps from last month were to kind of get back on top of the mess of jobs that I had going on, just because we had a lot and I was going out of town. So wanted to get that done. So that kind of happened and also didn't. So we're flying by the seat of our pants a little bit right now, but everyone's project is kicking off and we're getting it done. So we're still moving. Action step going this next month is going to be really to start organizing and standardizing the tools we have for the guys who are in the field, but also for the office. So you can't see it, and thank God. It's a bit of a mess when it comes to my desk as far as paperwork goes, different things just laying on the desk, stuff like that. So I want to get that cleaned up, have clear expectations for Esther, since she's the one in the office, as far as, hey, here's where your stuff goes back to, here's what I want it to look like, just so that we can start to really plan this out for what it looks like with expansion. And then same thing with all the tools, with Ethan coming on for the field staff to say, hey, here's what should be in the hub of tools that we have. And then we're not sending someone out to a job and it's like, well, I don't have the tool. It's like, if you don't have the tool, that's on you, because it's your responsibility to make sure everything ends up where it's supposed to be. So the action steps for this month is going to be to get pictures laminated for the toolboxes, just so that this is what should be in each box. So we've got the Milwaukee pack out. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It's a tool organization system that a lot of contractors use. So two things I want to highlight real quickly before I hand it over to Connor is I had this come up with a couple that I was talking to them about redoing their kitchen, and they ended up sending me an email, and I thought we had gotten off on a pretty good foot, and then they sent an email essentially saying, like, this doesn't seem like that complicated of a project. Can you give us a reason why we should have a GC? And they kind of looked at it as they could do it in 3 weeks. And as I sat down to build out the schedule, I looked at it as being done in 10. So I was a little frustrated at first by that, as far as kind of someone being like, why would we need you? But it did give me a minute to kind of sit down and go, okay, what is the value of what I'm bringing to this? Like, and there is a part where I'm hands-on. So beyond just being hands-on and managing a project and starting from the beginning. And so just working through, it's like we have a process that we're going through with a set group of guys that we've done this with before. So there's no guessing that really has to be done with all of this. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. It takes a lot of the landmines that someone might find, especially the first time around. And I'm trying to pull up my actual response but I cannot find it. Anyways, give me one more second. No, I'm just going to get out of here. I can't find it. Anyways, but it's to say, like, we understand the quality control that we're going for. It's like, I know the lead times on things where people can look at, hey, it's a week for demo, it's a week for cabinets, a week for flooring. It's like, yeah, but I know that there's a couple other things that you're missing in there. And I also can, now that I've done this for a long time, so I can start to see inside walls for the most part, as far as, okay, I know that this is there, so it's going to have to move over. So we need to account for, we need for that trade, stuff like that. So a lot of it is bringing the professionalism to it, the quality control, managing the schedule, making sure that as things arrive that are bumps in the road, we've done it before, we've experienced most of them before. So how do we pivot on those pretty quickly? So ended up sending that back and was able to take a lot of my frustration where it's like, why is that the thing they're sending over? But to be able to kind of say like, hey, here's the actual value that we're bringing to the situation. So it was kind of nice to be able to sit down and then build that out. So the other thing, and I mentioned it in the initial part, was building out the Cyto process essentially, and it's from start to finish. And I've started to understand a little bit of the difference between marketing and sales. So we were able to start with marketing, then go to sales, then go to production, job completion, and then essentially what I call retention. And then also getting into some of the role specific things outside of that for the company. The reason why I thought this was helpful, but also important, is just because then we can start to say, hey, here's our system, here's our playbook. And down the road, I want to be able to have that as far as to say, when we start pushing into a Tucson division, Flagstaff division, Nevada division, we already know what we're doing, and we have an expectation on what that growth looks like and how we're going to do that. So that was fun to do, good to do. I also started to build out a little bit of the infrastructure behind it, and more on the marketing side, but also with some future planning for what we're going to do with like a subscription service where it's home concierge thing. And that really comes into our retention aspect of it. So, and then what I'll probably do is I'll put a link to it in show notes for this podcast. And I'm just going to do it for this podcast. But people would be able to go take a look at it if they want to, in terms of what that looks like, and just see kind of how I've broken that out for right now. It doesn't have full SOPs because our SOP sheet is separate, or those are getting built out separate, but it's more to say, here's the overarching document of how things should move from start to finish, beginning to end, as we start to look at this. So marketing heavily on what we call the affiliate side. So reaching out to designers, architects, realtors, and then also subcontractors to build that base to try and increase growth, because that's been where a lot of our projects have come from, we haven't really seen it on the designer side yet because we just started that one a couple months ago, but we're seeing the fruits of that labor start to turn over. So that's where I'm very optimistic that, this is going to work. It just needs to cook a little bit longer. The production side, the sales side, we've already been doing that. So a lot of that has been ironed out. There's certain things that I want to tweak and start adding to it. So it was nice to kind of have some of the thoughts that I had in my head, put them down on paper, and then also be able to see, okay, here's our to-do list for what needs to change and be added to our process, and start iterating on top of that. So yeah, I'll put a link for that start to finish that people can take a look at in the show notes. But that's mostly it.
Sweet. For the reasons to hire a GC, I was just kind of thinking about that as you were talking through, and something that sticks out to me the most is the risk mitigation, in terms of a lot of people are really confident about the idea of doing it themselves, and then something goes wrong, and then if you don't have the experience, you're kind of SOL and having to figure that out, versus a GC, you kind of, especially a more experienced GC like you, Thaddeus, has seen a lot of the scrap, and you've had to adapt to it pretty quickly. So I feel like you're buying a lot of peace of mind on that side of things as well. Like if something goes wrong, you generally know how to recover from it a lot quicker than they will.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I did put in the email to them, as far as a big part of when we are selling what we do is the responsibility that we take.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be that when I've had this conversation and I've had to demonstrate my frustration when things go wrong, but letting the customer know that I'm taking that upon myself and not pushing that off on another trade, because we're taking responsibility for their project and the product that we're putting in front of them. So it's stuff where the reason why that we're going to be compensated the way that we are a lot of times is because we're taking responsibility. If something goes wrong and someone's doing their own remodel, and an example I gave in an email was there's electricians that don't want to cut in any electrical boxes to cabinets, and there's some cabinet guys where they're going to install it, be like, we've installed it, we're done, we're out of here. And so if there's no communication between those two guys, it's then how are you getting them back in there? So there's been times, it was on our most recent kitchen remodel, where I was like, I'm just going to handle it. Where instead of trying to bicker with someone where it's like, just, come man up, just cut the cabinets. And they're like, no, it's a liability thing for us. We're trying to get the cabinet guys. And they're like, we've been out there multiple times. Like, we're trying to move on to our next projects. It's like, we're going to take care of it. And there are some times where we have to have those difficult conversations and just say like, hey, this is part of someone's job. You just got to do it. But it's when things go wrong, that's just one example. It's fingers start getting pointed everywhere. And the thing that I like to do very quickly is tell everyone, stop, point the finger at me, and then I'm going to get it taken care of. Even if that means I've got to go talk to someone else, because we've got to, they're going to be the key role in getting that done. But I try not to make it where it's like, oh no, it was that guy, or it was that guy. It's like, no, you're paying me for the project. I'm the one whose name is on the project. I'm responsible for the success and failures that happen here. So and the failures is the bigger one. Yeah.
Did you have a pretty good response from them, or have they responded yet?
They have not responded, and that was sent 2 days ago. So I'll follow up with them. Yeah, I'll follow up with them and see what they say. I know that there are some. I know that they're budget conscious on it, so I don't want to pretend like that's not reality. I also told them in the email that I don't want to pretend like they can't do it themselves, because there are plenty of people that do their own kitchen remodels. But I just look at it as if you think you're doing it in 3 weeks, from experience, it's going to take 10.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Connor, what do you got for us?
Some numbers for you. So active listings are just over 28,000 currently, and that's down from almost 30,000. So we're 2,000 less than last month. Closed listings are 6,300. That's down from 6,800. And then interest rates dropped a little bit, right at 6%, down from 6.127. So I was looking, why are the active listings down and closed? So you might have guessed it. There's a lot more expired listings. So I was looking up expired. So we're seeing an uptick in expireds, houses that aren't being sold. And
what qualifies as an expired house?
So if a realtor has a listing contract, could be 90 days, 6 months, however long it is. If they don't sell the house in that time frame, the realtor no longer has the contract and it expires.
Gotcha. Do you normally re-up, or is there an extension that a realtor typically does with, or do people just kind of give up and say, we'll try to sell later?
Yeah, you try to re-up it, you try to extend it, but sometimes a homeowner can get frustrated. Their house didn't sell, and they'll try to hire another realtor or wait. So there's reasons things aren't selling. Either a realtor might have gone with whatever price the homeowner wanted, a too high of number, or maybe they warned them that this won't meet comps and they listed anyway. It's usually a price thing, or oftentimes. So there's other reasons why, but yeah.
And we saw a lot of this when there's the big marketing campaign here in Arizona for the people that said that they could get under contract in 3 days.
Oh, 72. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just
I mean, it's a company name.
Yeah. Well, this part is the part that we didn't say their name, so I'm just going to throw this out there. We were tracking. They were the highest they were the brokerage with the highest expirations on their listings. And the reason why was because they were so marketing heavy and it was so effective. And at the time the market was so hot. When the market started to balance out and become a little bit more even rather than just a seller's market, you'd have those guys come in and say, we'll sell your house in 3 days. Essentially, they'd have a listing agreement for a week and say, like, all we need is a week. We'll go under contract. We're going to re-up, like, once we go under contracts because, like, you want to sell your house, right? But then they wouldn't sell it in those 3 days or get the money that they told the person they could out of it. And then it's when they go to re-up and they're like, well, like, we're going to do a little bit more work and we're going to try this again. And the people usually would get dropped and picked up by another agent. So there's a lot of times where, depending on the relationship the person has with the agent and their motivation to sell, like you guys talked about, that's really those are kind of the key factors, because there are people where they'll just roll over like, hey, we had a 3-month listing agreement. We're coming to the end of it. Just sign this. We're going to run it for an extra 3 months. And there's other people where it's like, hey, we've tried this for 9 months. Like, I guess we're staying here.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we're seeing more of that. Yeah, expireds, which kind of makes sense with rates where they're at. Summertime in Phoenix, it was 114 today. Kind of how it is. Some other numbers though for our June rent collection, we were at 90, right at 93. We had one person not pay, and then one person pay half. So we're working.
Is that 2 months in a row?
Yeah. Oh, for the same person? No.
Well, it's 2 months in a row for someone to pay half.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that happen before where tenants just like, oh, I'll only pay half and that'll be fine?
They've been kind of warning us, lost their job, and they said that, and hasn't happened before with this specific person, but it's usually every month there's 1 or 2 people that are, I'll say, the issue people.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it changes who it is. It's not the same person.
Yeah.
We've had that though.
Well, when you're doing the amount of doors that Connor's doing, stuff's bound to happen, if you know what I mean.
It's true. And we currently have 2 vacant apartments in Tempe, 2 studios, which those ones are, out of the 2 bedrooms or 1 bedrooms, those are usually the harder ones to rent. Just they're small. They have everything you need, but they are tight. So as we're getting into August, I've had quite a few tours of them actually this week, but students will rent them usually coming up in August. We got 1 vacant house. That's the house we remodeled in Scottsdale, and 1 other house, same house under renovation in South Scottsdale. And then a couple of signed leases, 3 signed leases, and tenant moving in later this month, and another one, 2 later this month moving in. So things are moving. Seems like we've had, I don't know, more move outs than typical in Tempe. And that's still, I think we're attributing it to all the new apartments being built. And I hear prospective tenants asking, so how many months free are you giving out for rent? You know, the 300 unit complex, they're giving out 2.5 months. And, you know, we can't do that. We do some rent concessions, but we're competing with those big guys. Something I'll tell them is you might get a good price now with some rent concessions, but upon lease renewal, if the market's better, that's where you hear about the 30% rent increases. You know, we kind of move along with the market, but they'll get those people at the rent renewals. But take it while you can. We had 14 tours this month between the 2 houses and a couple apartments, which is great. We're still using the show digs, and we had one problem in Peoria where house isn't really that far out. It's 75th Avenue and Cactus. I guess they didn't have a realtor out there, but they confirmed, and our prospective renter showed up and no realtor was available, which that sucked.
That's not far out at all.
It's not far out. I'm still trying to figure out what happened. I think they just canceled the realtor. So working through that issue, making sure, confirming actually that someone's available to show it at that time. Action steps from last month, we're sending out more mailers, and contacting more wholesalers and realtors. I've been doing a lot of outreach on that front.
Do
Between
you know how
last,
many you sent out?
you sent out 1,500.
Any
So-
responses?
A couple responses. Yeah.
What's a couple?
Three
Okay.
responses.
So, grabbing a calculator. 3 divided by 1,500. Your response rate is essentially 0.2%.
Yeah. Yep. And it's,
Cool.
yeah, basically it's cold. You know, they've never heard from us before. So it's something where, continuing to mail to those people, contact those people, and try to get those numbers up. The first round.
A caveat on that too, I think that stuff that Alex and I have seen a lot of the stuff with the cold stuff, like that's honestly like right about where I'd expect it to be.
Yeah.
So
Especially for something like a cash offer, or just even just a cold offer for someone who's not necessarily interested in, like I feel like that's just one of the offers where it's really hard to be competitive on, and a majority of people get spam called, they get spam emailed. So I think there's just a lot more. The barrier to entry is just really, really hard. But then on the bright side, it's hard for everybody. I don't think there's necessarily anyone who's having an easy time doing this kind of outreach.
Yeah. I'll say, yeah, this next round we're doing, I got a software to help select properties a little bit better called PropStream, so I can dig down into who has the liens, who's behind on the payments, who's maybe in pre-foreclosure, who's vacant, who might be negative equity at this point. So it's kind of, you'd probably like that, Alex, where it's drilling down into specifically those houses. So might be the people more interested in selling within the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say the first round I did my best, but this software's, I think it's pretty good. So
yeah,
we'll try to use this on the next round and then
sweet
follow up. So that's been cool. We got a company to help mail them out, which it's actually a lot cheaper as well. Send a 4x6 card plus the printing plus the mailing plus the return mail. So it's about we're doing 2,000 and it's right at 62 cents per card. So if you know first class mail, it's 73. So even with the printing and everything, these small cards, can do better on volume, but starting kind of slowly and ramping up as we get some traction. Last month I was talking about hiring a VA to help, and I did interview a few companies. I'm still working on that to help with. Thinking most would be the follow-up on tenant side leads, just responding quickly and just continuing to follow up with them. And I do have a company to help to receive the calls on the mailing side so they can respond quickly as well. So when someone calls our number, the company will pick up and answer and ask all the questions we had lined up. So nice. I know picking up the phone's important and responding quickly is important. So
hey, we're talking about that later.
Yeah. Action steps for next month, still doing the postcards, sending out another round. I'm going to ramp it up, and then I have a couple more interviews with the VAs to hire to help on the management side. So that'll be great. Kind of a lesson for learning. It kind of happens every year, but it's still good to remember every year. Summertime in Arizona for apartments and moving, it can be slow. It's kind of in between school years, which might be a reason someone would want to move. But the products we have, especially apartments in Tempe, people, it's harder to move. It's hot to move, and we see a slowdown. So for us, a lesson is to, we can only market as much as we can. We can send out mailers as much as we can. We can give the best tours we can. But we've seen things are kind of just slower in the summer. So just continuing to do the daily things we need to do. And then it usually picks up back in the fall, August, September. for these types of things. So continuing to do our monthly, weekly, daily tasks, and knowing that the process is proven, and not, getting down and frustrated because someone doesn't want to move into a house in 115. It's like, well, I don't either. So trying to push it off a little bit. So
Yeah.
Just doing those daily things that we can do that are proven and that work. So
Nice.
yeah. What about you, Alex?
So I was focused a little bit on the video side of things. So I was messing around with YouTube. I ended up posting 3 shorts and 1 full-length video. And the full-length video was honestly not something necessarily I was planning on releasing. But as I've been saying on here, I've been playing around with a lot of different AI tools, trying to really get my head wrapped around it. And a new feature got released, and so I was looking into it, and it was actually really similar to some of the projects I'd been working on. So I did a quick comparison video of like, hey, here's this tool out here called Bolt that does like a kind of done for you AI development service, and I compared it versus Claude, which they had announced this new version of Artifacts, which is a similar thing where you can have AI build something, and then you can kind of create a link that you can share with people so they can actually like use it. So I tried the exact same prompt on both, and I put that on my YouTube, and I got 4,000 views within like 48 hours, which is insane for me. That is not at all normal. And I've noticed that the short side of things, so out of curiosity, a little bit of like personal challenge to myself, but then also kind of leaning more into the AI stuff as I've been going along. I've been posting on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and my own personal Instagram, which I've never really done anything with my own personal Instagram. And on average, out of the 3, YouTube Shorts has been going very, very well for the most part. Like typical views between 1,000 and 2,000 for a channel that, and people might think, oh yeah, you have a channel that's been around for a while. I was like, no, the channel's a little bit old, and I started doing like analytic stuff on it, but right now I'm at 291 subscribers, so it's not very many. And to be honest, 80 of those subscribers came this last month. So I now have a cumulative 10,000 views just in June, which is a considerable jump. For reference, I have like a how to do Power BI video that has about 5,000 views, and that's over the course of like 2 years. So that has been very, very gradual. Whenever how-to videos do fairly decent on YouTube. So it's been really interesting to see kind of how not only your timing works on releasing things when they're a new topic. People definitely jump on top of that, and I see why more people do that. And especially if you have something of value to say of like, hey, here's this brand new thing. Here's how it compares to existing sources. People seem pretty interested in that, and I actually got quite a few subscribers just based on that kind of stuff. So, and the other thing is, especially with the algorithm side of things, if you can work on your storytelling in a way to captivate people, short form content gets spread to a lot of people very quickly. So typically I've noticed it will send it out in bursts of like 200 at first, and depending on how many people interact with your video, then they'll push it out to a bigger group, and then a bigger group, and then a bigger group. So a lot of people are, from research I've been doing this past month, a lot of people are saying that watch time and people actually watching all the short all the way through is much, much more valuable than people following you, or you just have a big network. So a lot of people focusing on that are finding success. And some people do that with controversy or getting people on comments and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see from a strategic perspective how businesses can like really, really effectively market themselves, especially on localized results like in Phoenix. If you're good at harnessing that short form content, I feel like there's a lot of way to push yourself out in front of eyeballs that people see. Something else I've seen on the social side of things is a lot of if a business finds a viral video of theirs that's done really well, they'll take that format and they'll just turn it into an ad. And then they pay for that to be an ad and continue to push it out in front of eyeballs, and it typically does well because it already had a lot of natural engagement. So that was super interesting. So overall, for in terms of action steps and all that kind of stuff, the standard side of the analytics has been very, very slow going. Admittedly, there's been some personal stuff that's been going on that is kind of changing my approach to a lot of things, unfortunately. But I'll be able to share a little bit more like that in the next few podcast episodes, hopefully. So for now, though, it is just kind of chugging along. I've been keeping in touch with my main client, but summer is typically a slower period for them. They're taking vacation and breaks and focusing on getting more funding. And once that goes through, hopefully that will be able to move through on some bigger projects that I've been hoping on or been getting prepped on. Something else that has kind of been a recurring theme from the AI perspective that Thaddeus and I and Connor, I think we've talked a little bit as well, is about, okay, well, how applicable is AI for a lot of small businesses? Because everyone's been hearing about the hype. And I actually came up with a couple ideas going back and forth with AI, and I'll be honest, a lot of them were crap. So I took 3 of the best ones or the better looking ones, and we can quickly review them. And then after that, I have an article just summary to share with you guys that I thought was interesting and is very, very telling about the AI market right now. So for Thaddeus, so basically what I did was I had a basic prompt that said like, hey, I'm working with a small business owner that has this. What are some processes that I could do that wouldn't be too expensive to set up, that would have a good return? And a lot of it was really generic stuff that just knowing you and your business was like, this isn't something you would ever use. And I don't know that necessarily these 3 options would be something you would use, but nonetheless, I think they caught my eye at least, and maybe they'd catch yours. I saw a lot of things along the lines of like an automation for text emails and response. So I don't know currently on however many jobs you're dealing with, how much time it takes you to respond to texts and emails, and of those, how often they are like common things like, hey, where are we at on the job? I don't necessarily knowing how good that is at communicating. I doubt that's an issue, but if someone's saying that, or hey, can I ask you about a quote? Hey, can you come out for scheduling, that kind of stuff. So a big application that people are typically doing is just automating that system. So you kind of train it with 20 to 30 different like pre-made responses, and then anything that it can't handle, it'll automatically forward to you. So I'll go through all 3, and then you tell me if you would use any of those, and then we can go from there. The second one that I thought was interesting was an estimate optimizer. So when it comes to taking estimates, it's a pretty involved process from what I understand. I haven't done an estimate personally, but based on how Thaddeus talks about it, it's pretty involved. So something that you could do here is while you're doing a walkthrough of the house, you can take voice notes, which the AI would read and kind of put together in a more organized structure. You could throw in any templates that you have for how you typically set up your estimate. And then you could also read any text or emails from certain people. So if you're reaching out to all your subs and you're trying to get quotes for them and they text it to you or email it to you, it can read that, pull all of that into one place for you. So you are not manually typing everything in and trying to pull it all from all these different data sources. When I was asking AI about the cost and stuff like that, it said roughly something to set that up. It wouldn't be too difficult. It would be like $500 for an initial setup, and that's like hiring just like a Fiverr or Upwork person to do that for you. And then overall average cost would be about $20 a month. And then the last one, kind of along those lines, would be a scheduler. So someone to actually go and reach out to all your subs for you automatically. Something like Calendly, where they could go in and see available times. You can create specific calendar links. So you would be able to say, hey, the client has Thursday and Friday available. Everyone go in, find a time during those 2 days that works for you. And then you could schedule all the subs to come do a tour and take a look at things. And then they would automatically get reminders the day before saying, hey, remember, you're going to check out this house for Saito and give a quote on X, Y, and Z job. So that setup would be actually fairly cheap. And then with an AI integration for everything like that, it would be roughly like $30 a month. So do any of those 3 sound like something you could realistically do, or do you think it's still kind of fantasy land for where you are right now?
Which I would honestly break this out a little differently. So I've I've been diving a little bit more into home service podcasts.
Mhm.
Now, typically when people are really getting into home services, the big stuff they're the big out is going to be HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and then a popular one here in Arizona is also garage doors. So one of the things with those is essentially that you have typically a lot of service punctuated by high ticket items every couple of years. So with that, well, I should also say, combine that with the fact that a lot of the stuff is relatively standard. So I'd say the estimate optimizer, we could possibly start working something in with some of the bathrooms that we're doing, because a lot of the bathrooms are typically your showers can be a 30-inch by 60-inch, and you could have a 30-inch wall, 60-inch wall, 30-inch wall. So that's pretty straightforward. Then you can plug in X amount of square X price, like standard pricing for XYZ. Like we can spit out a price very quickly. So that could be helpful. The thing that I would say though is kind of going back to what I talked about with the home service side is that when their services are so broken out and essentially it's more like a menu rather than
Mhm.
where it's like, hey, what pieces do you want in there? And then we're going to price it out accordingly. That's going to be a lot easier, not just on the estimate side, but also on the communication side. And I believe that there are people that are already doing this with some of their text and email response systems. They haven't fully gone over, and there are some people that are still thinking it's a couple years out. Don't want to get too far into the weeds on that, but essentially, like, it is coming. They're just iterating it to get it better. But a lot of that has to do with having, like, roofing. People are starting to be able to do. There are such good aerial shots of the roofs of houses at this point that you can have an AI pull square footage, understand what materials you'd need. So you can start to have communication happening and an estimate being built off of stuff like that. Depending on where the AC units are, it's okay, what's the square footage of your house? Like you can have those prompts built in to where it's going back and forth with the client to figure that out very quickly. Talk about like what does your schedule look like for next week, and you can have the calendar integration to the AI, stuff like that. That's more on a true services, home service part of things.
Yeah.
We're a little bit more on the custom side, which brings it. I'm hesitant to start really changing the communication on things, and I'm going to get to that a little later. But a big part of that is when there's a lot of variables, AI isn't fully polished yet, so we want to make sure
Mhm.
that the customer feels fully heard, understood, and that we are on top of what they need.
Yeah.
And then also, like, it's if you don't have it perfect, like one of my least favorite things is to call someone and it's like, thank you for calling ABC Warehouse.
Yeah.
There are hours, press one. It's like, I want the phone to ring. Want someone to pick it up and say, this is the problem I'm having. This is what I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. But as far as I think that they're the sub ruler, I'd probably say no. The first two, they need a couple iterations. The estimate one is probably the closest to what I'd use. And then I think for a lot of the other home services, that one is like it's around the corner, and you're going to see the top end of people who are especially owned by private equity or in that tier of company really start to adopt it. The people
Yeah.
that aren't, they're going to kind of do business as usual.
Yeah, I actually had my AC went out last month, and I actually called an HVAC place, and it was an AI that answered, said, "Hey, what time? Give us a couple times that work for you," and then there's like, "All right, great, thank you," and then hung up, and then 15 minutes later, a real person called me, was like, "Hey, I heard that this time and this time work. We've got an availability here. Does that work?" And then they like confirmed it. So that was really interesting to see, and I'm sure more services are going to start doing that. So, all right. For Connor, I'm going to start with the most out there idea, and then I'll go through the other two, and then you can tell me if any of these would be applicable to you. So my out there idea is an AI scraper for Google Street View. So what I mean there is you could take a certain neighborhood and you have AI go through the street view and look at houses and try to identify what houses look neglected, what issues there are, and then double check it versus MLS records and sales to give you kind of leads that you would only get by actually physically being there. I have no idea how much that would cost to set up. It would probably be pretty expensive. You'd have to use a combination of APIs and other kind of stuff, but thought that was a pretty interesting approach. The other one would be like a social media group scraper. So there's so many local Phoenix groups for rentals, for people who are trying to sell stuff off market. That would be a really interesting way to kind of break the mold and feed kind of leads that other people aren't normally able to do or don't have the time to go through. And then the last one would be like coming back to the communication part as just like an auto communication tool. So if tenants are reaching out to you about, hey, something's broken, you could get it to the point where, if you trust it enough that you have handymen being automatically reached out to and say, hey, go to this house, they have a problem with the AC, which again, I would be weirded out with that without some a little bit of testing. And then if you do Airbnbs and anything like that, auto communications for like the most common messages or things that people reach out to. So, oh, what's the Wi-Fi password? Oh, what's the keypad to get in? That would be something pretty easy to have AI kind of automate so that you're not having to do as many manual touches as possible.
Those are cool.
Yep.
Your most out there ideas might the most intriguing.
Well, I was trying to go with something because a lot of the things is like if you guys do so much yourself, if you guys are doing anything that isn't a lead generating or revenue generating opportunity, why the hell would you be doing it? So I'm like, if you're going to spend the time and money to do something, it better give you some kind of like insane advantage that other people just don't have. And that was kind of my criteria for any kind of AI application. And some of these, I don't know that you would really get that return. But I wanted to throw it out there anyways, just to get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, the first one people called driving for dollars. I mean, investors, they hire someone or do it themselves. They'll just drive up and down streets. And the one that has all the weeds is the one you send an offer on or try to make contact or follow up for the next 2 years. So, I mean, that one's very possible and actually used. I mean, I guess all of them are, but that one's interesting. I don't know how you'd set it up.
Alex, with the, I guess I would be curious a little bit about that too, but do you have any idea, like, is that something that people are actively using, or was that more something where it's like, this is a possibility?
Oh, like the tools are out there. So Google Maps has an API where you essentially get screenshots. You know when you go into Street View and you can like look around, everything. Yeah. That's just a picture. So right, you can save all those pictures down and then give it to ChatGPT that has a vision module. Because right now, if you use ChatGPT or anything else, you can screenshot your screen and say, what am I looking at here? And it can tell you. So it's the same thing. You would essentially have to, the difficulty would be training the model to say, this is what a good house looks like. This is what a bad house looks like. If there's a ton of plants, maybe it's cacti and stuff like that, and it technically looks good. It might be a false flag. But nonetheless, like there are the tools available to build something to do this. It might just be really complicated to get right.
That one's really interesting, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the closest sign of is a house neglected and someone's having an issue. A month of not pulling the weeds in your front yard.
Hey, yeah. My house isn't for sale.
Hey, but it could be with the right offer.
Yeah.
I think the third one too, the auto communication. We do have some of that for our through Airbnb, and we get a lot of the same questions. We've had over almost 2,000 guests now, and the same questions always come up. So we try to hit them with all the answers beforehand, but we do have like pre-written out messages like, what's the Wi-Fi? You just click send.
Yeah.
And other things. But I think for that one, what I'm even just looking to hire the VA for with our tenant communications, if that can be automated. And I've looked at a few, but I haven't found something. Maybe you got a better resource, but just following up quickly with all the different leads we get from our website, apartments.com, Zillow, Zumper, Apartment House. There's a lot of different platforms that the leads come into. And messaging them quickly and responding. And I think communicating with them in all three ways, messaging, texting, calling, is they need to be hit on all fronts. So they respond. So that one's interesting too.
Yeah, I'll give you some more details about it later in terms of like setting it up and what that would look like. But yeah, there seem to be a few tools out there that do it, and then there's a few more custom options that could be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, let's look at it.
Sweet. All right, well, we've heard enough about all of our thoughts. So Thaddeus, what are your company thoughts?
All right, tonight's company thoughts are on answering your freaking phone. This has been a mine. I think I have talked about this before, but we are hitting it again because it has come up recently. We treat the company thought section like we're talking to our team. So if people have stuff that they want to take from this, then have fun. But this has come up recently, and a big part of it was due to several people not answering their phone. But let's start with the one that we talked about before. Let's start with an easy one for today. I called a dentist office. I needed to get an appointment right now. And I got sent to their like, hey, press this, whatever. And then it ended up going to voicemail. They said that they were open until 7 p.m., which as of our recording was 10 minutes ago. And I called them probably around 4 something. They never called me back. If I were having true pain, I'm going somewhere else. If I'm a client interested in finding someone to remodel my house and I call someone and it goes to voicemail, and I will tell you, I've been in a company where the phones get shut off at 4:30, and so it goes to voicemail, and then they call my phone and I will pick up. I will steal your customer.
Oh, 100%.
Well, and I will steal your opportunity at the customer. And to prove this more internally is, like we talked about, I was out of town in Michigan. We showed up on a Tuesday. I get a phone call in the afternoon. I think it was around noon. It was around time, 3 p.m. Michigan time. And the guy was like, hey, can we do a walkthrough? And I was like, I'm a little out of state, but how about we FaceTime? During that entire week, I was taking phone calls with him. I was on FaceTime calls with that gentleman, with other trade. We've got stuff going on, and like we don't have the staff necessarily for it right now, but we need to keep things rolling. And this goes back to the taking responsibility for everything on the project. And that starts with communication. If we're not communicating with customers, if we're not communicating with our vendors, then the opportunities that we have in terms of getting referrals from the people that we are working with, or the next job based off from the vendors that we're getting, the affiliates, I should say, that we're getting those jobs from, those start to go away because they start to feel like you're not listening, you're not paying attention, you're not available. Now, the hard part, and I've even had this with some of my family in terms of it's like, hey, like, it's okay if you miss some of this stuff, people will understand. It's like at the end of the day, the customer doesn't, especially in our industry. It's if someone has a need or a desire, all they really care about is, can I get it addressed right now, or can I have someone answer me right now on it? If I've got splitting tooth pain, I need it fixed right now. I need an answer for when that's going to get fixed right now. If I've got an issue with my house, and I've a client right now where there've been a lot of water leaks in their house, not our fault, thank God, but we're the company that is dealing with it. I'm answering the phone at 9 p.m. I'm responding before 6 a.m. It's because they need to know that if anything, we've got their back. We're going to handle it. We're going to make a plan, and we're going to take care of it. Now, to put that all in perspective is we have created customers for life by some of these practices of answering the phone whenever someone calls. It isn't oh, I've got my phone on between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. No, you answer when the customer's available. There is some stuff where it's, you can, like, I have it set up on my phone. Can I call you back here shortly? It's that, send them to voicemail. They get that automated text message, but it's the lowest form of communication. Now, I want to give out examples of what this looks like in a bad way. And I'm going to give some examples of what it looks like in a bad way. And then I'm going to tell you why I'm probably not the typical person when it comes to this. I have a couple subcontractors that have had family stuff happening this week. I had people ghost me for 4 days. I've had people not available or responsive or whatever it is. And it's difficult because there's timelines on my end that I'm dealing with. There's stuff that I'm having to deal with that it's then I'm trying for a week to get something set up and it's not happening. Now, what that looks like on my end is then going toward how do I have to change because I'm taking responsibility for the entire project. And if the person can't take care of responsibility care portion, then we might need to find someone who can take responsibility for their portion. So for our company, we are always going to take responsibility for our portion. That means we are going to be available. The communication will be for the people that we bring on for the team is that, hey, if you're going to be full-time with us, you're going to be available. Now, there are limits. There are ways that you can even communicate with the customer as far as to say, like, if it's not something important, or even how do we say, yes, absolutely, we're going to get to this at this date, at this time, but we want them to feel heard, taken care of, all that stuff. I want to kind of finish it off, and I forget if I've talked about this on the podcast. Last year, my wife went into labor at 11 p.m. at night. I had flooring going in the next day at a project. I had a gentleman set up to be there in my place to kind of get the guys going, but there's still a couple details that needed to happen. I was at the hospital with my mother-in-law, so we were kind of back and forth with my wife just because she was in labor all night. There were times between 7 and 8 a.m. where I'm on the phone with those guys. So I'm away from my wife while she is in active labor. So dealing with those details. My wife ended up needing to have a C-section. So we go have a C-section at around 12:30. We get out of there we get back to the room around 1 p.m. She's exhausted. Essentially, she passes out because she's so tired. Baby is sleeping. 10 minutes after that C-section, I am on the phone with a lead talking about the project that would be a couple $100,000 that they're looking to do. There's not a lot of people that will do that, but that's the standard that, like, I just want to set for the company. If I'm willing to do that, you don't need to go to those lengths, but those are the lengths that I'm willing to go to because that's how much I believe that our actions matter to supporting, building, and taking this company where I want it to go. So It's the lowest level of things that you can do, which is answer your phone. If there is something going wrong, if there are problems, you can text, you can even answer the phone. Hey, in the middle of this right now, we absolutely want to help you out, get to you. Like, can we do X, Y, and Z? As the contractor, cool. Yep, absolutely. As my communication to the customer, if we're working with good customers, yep, totally understand. We got it. Like, we'll chat at this time. Don't lose your referrals. Don't lose your leads by not answering your phone, throwing it in a drawer at 4:30, or just not responding. That's it.
There we go.
Amen. Answer the phone. Yep.
It's the dumbest level thing. Like, there's people talk about blocking and tackling in a company, and there's all these fancy things that we try and do, and it's whether it's stuff with social media, if it's YouTube or advertising or cold email, all these things. It's like, that's the fancy stuff. The blocking and tackling, the stuff that really matters for what we're doing is the mundane crap.
Yeah.
Doing that well. And usually, like, the complaints are for the companies that don't do the mundane well. And days for most companies are for the ones that do the mundane well. It's kind of hilarious.
Cool.
Boys, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Alex, where can they find you?
You can find me control-analytics.com or on LinkedIn.
Connor.
Connor Teich Real Estate, Instagram.
Cool. And then we are on Instagram at Cyto_building, and then our website, cytobuilding.com.
So until next time.
I hope your hammer stays accurate.
Your Wi-Fi fast.
And your work blessed.
See you, everybody.